Everyone, I'd like to call this Town of Cedar Lake Planning Commission public meeting to order, December 16, 2020. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Heather Dessauer,
Present.
Chuck Becker,
Here.
John Kapora,
Present.
John Foreman,
Present.
Richard Sharp,
Here.
Jerry Wilkening,
Here.
Robert Carnahan,
Here.
Don Oliphant,
Here.
David Austin,
Present.
Tim Kubiak,
Here.
Jill Murr,
Here.
Michelle Baker.
Here.
All right. The minutes from November 18, 2020 and December 2nd, 2020.
I believe the minutes didn't get circulated.
November 18th did though, didn't they?
November 18th.
November 18th did. Would anyone like to make a motion or any comments on the minutes from November 18th?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th, 2020.
We got a motion by Mr. Sharp. Do we have a second? Second by John Kapora. Roll call, please.
Heather Dessauer,
Yes.
Chuck Becker,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Kapora,
Yes.
Jerry Wilkening.
Yes. Vote carries unanimously. Okay. Old business, Raven site plan. C&L Leasing LLC, Roy Ravens, 12528 Wicker Avenue. Vicinity is 12528 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. Legal description is under Cough Hen Business Park. Petitioner is requesting a site plan approval. I know there's some new information on this. Mr. Oliphant, would you care to give us a bit of a summary on this project right now? And Mr. Yatsko, if you wanted to chime in, that would be great.
Sure. First off, I asked Jeff to join us tonight so we can kind of go over some of the connection on to the Birchwood parcel. We received a submittal right around the last meeting. We reviewed it, sent out a letter today. There's still some engineering comments that we need to clean up. Two biggest remaining issues would be obviously the outlet to Olthoff, and then what do you want to do about the lighting? Rory supplied the manufacturer cut sheet for what's out there now, and it doesn't comply. From what we can tell from the manufacturer, there's not anything that we can do to make it comply from what they make. So, I mean, all the other comments on there are minor in nature. I wish there were less of them, but it's where we're at now.
All right. Are we going to be able to have a end plan that you're comfortable with, Don? If perhaps hypothetically, if a motion was made to have some kind of agreement with phase 3 of Birchwood Farms?
I mean, I think so. Jeff and I have talked about it, about how the ultimate connection would be. Jeff let me know that there is an 8-inch pipe on their property that is likely the outfall of the current pond on Rory's property. We requested that at least be picked up. Olthoff has requested that if that existing pipe can be used in the interim, it should be used, but until we get survey on it to figure out the invert of it and how that matches to the proposed pond, I'm not sure if that's possible or not. The ultimate end game goal that when the full Birchwood storm sewer system is constructed, which would be the houses kind of along that southeast corner. Jeff let me know that may not be till next year or even in 22, to actually provide a hard connection into their system so there's not an outfall shooting at people's backyards, which I'm fine with that, except the system's not going to be in for another year plus, potentially. So, Jeff, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think you've covered everything. We're completely fine with everything that Don and I have talked about.
Okay, I guess for the legal purposes, is there something that Mr. Austin, is there something, some kind of agreement that we need between representative from Birchwood Farms and Mr. Ravens regarding an end completion date?
There would need to be a cross-access easement or cross-easement relationship so that crossing the property lines can be done lawfully. And the details of the design probably should be incorporated into such or by a separate instrument under the statute, perhaps a development agreement or development plan. Zoning commitment, pick the verbiage you want to use, so that there is a connectivity to benefit that is to be derived by crossing that line and storing water.
Well, I don't think anybody is surprised at all the homework that had to be done. And since we're only down to two things, one has an end date. I guess the other one is the lighting. Mr. Ravens, do you have anything you want to share with us on that right now? Yeah.
Rory Ravens, Seal Leasing, 12528 Wicker Avenue. Kind of same as before. I mean, I get the whole process and all that, but if I drive from my shop to just down the street a half a mile, I mean, I could pick up 12 buildings that are brighter than I am right now.
That is true, and I have a hunch that they're on a list.
Okay.
But your situation is here and now, and since it's not a public, I shouldn't say public, it's not a retail parking space, not having the required lumens, foot candles in the parking lot would certainly be considerable savings to you in the new area, light poles, etc. But I'm not sure if total waiver of the lighting that exists. I'm not sure what everybody's feeling is on that. Mr. Kubiak, any thoughts?
Well, I thought that there was a conversation previously that there were shields that went over the lights that directed them down. But
No, Don had said that Rory had supplied him with
that information.
some information, and the manufacturer it doesn't exist.
It would have to be, I mean, they did bring over a shield to a similar light.
Yeah.
Which can be done. I just don't want to do it unless I know that that's going to work, because I'm going to have to drill holes in them existing lights.
No,
So
I wish
kind of a
this
yes and no answer.
I wish this
It can be done.
I wish this circumstance could be just slightly different.
Hey, Don, and maybe Jerry, these lights that are there, that are pointing towards the north, are they way higher than what our new code is? Is this?
No, they just provide the glare that doesn't meet any part of the
They're
lighting.
not a
patterns.
downlight.
They're not a downlight,
Correct.
and that's
And if
that's the problem.
subdivision were to be built out, do any of those lights, would they
Certainly,
transmit all the way to
it's
where the new home is?
it's a glare. It would be a glare, and everybody's opinion about what a glare is different. It would be a glare that does not meet our
Right.
our ordinances.
How many
There's-
lamps are there?
There's six fixtures.
Six fixtures?
I think there's 6 fixtures. Yeah.
Could it be as simple as reducing the bulbs that are inside of those fixtures?
They're newer fixtures.
They
Stop
got-
me anytime.
They're turned down all the way. I mean,
Okay.
they have 1 to 8. We got them all the way down to 1.
Mhm.
It's just, it's not that they're, you know, like some of them that are down the road. It's not that they're like super bright or anything. It's just that LED look is just a different color.
Mhm.
And you notice them, but not that they're blinding you or anything like that. But you know they're there. You know,
Yeah, the point is that this is a new site and they don't meet our current regulations for lighting. So, I mean, and Jerry, I think Jerry kind of said it, nailed it on the head there. Is in meetings past, we've been talking about full poles and parking lot lighting. And I feel that, you know, Rory's case is not a retail place where
Right.
you have people coming in and parking and doing business regularly. It's his employees, but his lights need to comply to our ordinance. because we have a lighting ordinance now. And this, I mean, again, there's a lot of people that we're going to be getting to that have lights that are not. in
And that wasn't my
compliance, so-
intention of this.
Right, at the end of the day, I mean.
But you're absolutely right.
This is
And,
a topic
and that
of-
discussion happens often.
Don's checked them out, they don't comply, so, I mean, this needs to be changed to the right thing, and then move on. Fix life.
And unfortunately, Mr. Foreman,
Yep.
Mr. Oliphant can't make recommendations.
Sure.
We can't make recommendations, but there are fixtures.
Would
that
you be willing to eventually change these if given adequate amount of time to get them
I
to
could
change?
do it when the parking lot's done, because.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to, otherwise we got to tear up the parking lot.
Right.
So it's just, yeah,
Well,
Okay.
hang on though, hang on. These lights would replace the ones that are on the building.
Yeah, on the building. I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Would he
So
be
Terry-
willing to change the 6 fixtures that are on
Yeah,
the
he said
building?
something about, but he has something about tearing the parking lot up. And we're not talking, we're just talking about changing
Yeah,
lights
just
on the
your
building.
That
I'd
complies.
have to take them off, basically, wouldn't I?
Just
Yeah,
swap
you have to
them.
take them off. Yeah, you have to take them off
Or
and just,
different ones up.
I mean, you can put them inside if you wanted to. I
They
believe,
don't have to be on poles on
No.
the end of the parking
no,
lot?
you would just replace something on the building with something that has a flat lens.
Compliance to our ordinance, that's all.
So what we're saying is,
So if I can make that shield work, that could possibly,
But you have to have you're gonna have to have a fixture where the lens faces this way only,
Right.
because this is where we get into trouble.
that's
And as I may have mentioned before, a lot of those wall packs, like, that's what I call what you have. Well, those wall packs are used for emergency egress. And emergency egress lighting sometimes has to have redundancy. And they do the high and the low as 50% redundancy. So.
so in other words, the,
So could that same light be turned face down?
if you can keep the water out of it. But you have a lens that's at 90
We're
degrees.
underneath it overhang, so we
Yeah.
can't do that, put them up against and just burn them down. That would
Well,
work.
I don't know, he's got, let's see, the lens is at 90 degrees to the bottom, right?
The lens is what is facing.
Right, but the lens also turns the corner at the bottom of the fixture, I believe.
I mean, the idea, Mr. Ravens, is, yes, that you've got to face that lens down and shield that light in some fashion so that that light is directed downward and kept inward on your property. So if you can shield that somehow, if you can do that, some sort of an overhang, if you can do that with like an awning, I don't know, I'm not familiar with what's on the front of your building, but the idea is you've got to get that light cast directly down to the ground. I don't know, do we have a photometric plan? Is there an issue with the brightness, or is it just the direction of the light?
It's just that it doesn't meet the ordinance. We don't have photometric. We talked about that a little bit. Because it's not a retail space, my gut feeling was, the new area, it'll be as dark as he wants it to be or as light as he wants it to be, depending on what he wants to do with the lights. But the existing lights, which are newer, are just wall packs. And
Yeah, they're just wall packs that are just not, they need to be directed down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, Don, did I hear you say that there was an existing 8-inch pipe for the outlet of the pond currently on the Old Top property or on the property line?
That is well, I'm not sure exactly where it's at. That's kind of why we asked for it to be found and shot. Jeff told me that he's been out there and he's seen an 8-inch or plus or minus 8-inch pipe on Birchwood's parcel. We think that's the current outlet for the pond.
So if the pipe then, Don, if that extends from Mr. Raven's property onto the Birchwood property, that's where, as Mr. Ogden indicated, we need some sort of an easement allowing that. I would think if that pipe were cut off short of that property line and the water released from Mr. Raven's property to the north, there wouldn't be the need for the easement. I think the need for the easement, David, is because the pipe is, we think, is physically located on Birchwood property, correct?
I think so, but I thought there was more to it than that. There was a planned transmission capture the stormwater. That was my impression.
Okay, but, well, the easement certainly doesn't hurt to get that, and it sounds like Allcroft would be willing, Mr. Ravens, to provide that for you.
Yeah, they've been great.
Yeah, so whether your pipe extends physically onto their property or not, I think they're gonna be able to get that easement situation worked out. We know that's an outlet on the Birchwood property that this water would discharge onto, and Jeff Yatsko has indicated they'll pick that up, correct? Right, yeah, that'll be into the Birchwood storm sewer system.
But we need it. We do need some kind of end date for that.
You can put that in the agreement or in the condition reasonably you would impose.
Mr. Oliphant, what kind of timeline for this stormwater completion as,
But they said it's gonna be about a year, or more for that next phase.
Well, there's gonna have to be,
that we need a date.
there's gonna have to be two things. There's gonna have to be an interim solution. So the interim solution may be utilizing the pipe that's out there now. If it's low enough to kind of jive with the, proposed detention basins, I think we're deepening it a little bit. If that, works and they can tie onto that, then that's a temporary solution. When Olthoff builds their phase 3 or phase 4, when that infrastructure goes in, there has to be an end discussion about, okay, how are we going to basically tie that outfall into their new system? Because their new system's located a little further west. I mean, he's outletting into an outlot, which obviously no homes, and the rear yard systems are on the lot line with the homes and the outlot. So it's shifted west. So there's going to have to be, what do we do in interim? And then what do we do as a final connection once Olthoff puts in their systems?
Well, the final connection, this cross easement agreement path. Naturally, so that makes sense, Don.
Don, the pipe that is there, the grade of that has not been checked, correct?
It is not. It's not on any Terenga's drawings. Jeff said he's seen it and I trust him. So I believe him, it's out there.
I guess a motion needs to include two things in the future.
And then the third thing would be the lighting.
I mean, the timing of the project right now, I mean, Rory, you can let me know if I'm wrong on this, but we're already into December. Asphalt plants are shut down. So I think the earliest that the parking lot expansion would go would be March when the weather turns.
Yeah, I just need to be, I guess, have drawings and stuff so I can start bidding it out or know exactly what I need to do,
Sure, yeah.
So that, I mean, as busy as everything is around here, it may be difficult to get people.
Okay.
So we have some time to kind of work out some of this information, find that pipe, get an invert elevation on it, change the design a little bit if it needs to be changed. And then come to an agreement with Olthoff. It's up to really David and everyone how they want to memorialize that, that connection, if it's a right of access or a drainage easement or something that kind of formalizes the interim condition and final condition and everybody agrees to it.
Fair enough.
We need more information than we have right now to do all that. I take it.
I agree.
Not hearing that we have routing, location of this easement or drainage connection.
But as long as it all were to be completed and checked off by building department and town manager and legal between now and the day asphalt gets put in, I think it's.
Yeah, I don't
We can-
disagree, John.
yeah.
I just want to know, we got the cart way ahead of the horse. There's a lot of information to organize and get sequentially right.
Well,
And accurate, more importantly, accurate.
But that's those items could be taken care of
As-
from the
as-
building department, yeah.
so a motion would have to be
Have those
contingent
contingencies.
on another 3 months worth of homework.
Yeah, I think I have an interesting way to put a motion together if you're.
Yes, sir.
I got one question. Jeff, are you still out there?
Jeff Yatsko.
Yep, sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yes, I'm here.
Hey, I mean, like in a normal situation, if Rory's pipe was sticking there on the property line or 10 feet over the property line and you guys came in and develop, I mean, you guys would pick that pipe up and put it into your storm sewer as part of your development. Is that what you're agreeing to? Or are you wanting him to provide the labor and material to hook that, tie that in in a couple of years, or how is that? 'Cause I know a lot of cases, you guys run into these situations, you guys pick up them field tiles and the pipes, you know, incorporate it into your plan and get it hooked up. Is that the plan, or are you planning on allowing him access to your property to actually tie that pipe into the storm system?
Well, I would imagine between Don and I, if we get this worked out, because Don's right, it has to be an interim condition because our system's not in. And then as long as we're familiar with what his plan is, I mean, when we put the storm sewer in, I'm anticipating that's a 10-foot section of pipe. I mean, it would be like if we found a farm tile, we would just pick it up and we would just tie it straight into our storm system at that time. And then, of course, when we did that, then the plat would include the drainage easements. Unfortunately, you know, this is just a little ahead of the game, but I don't see anything here that's gonna, you know, they're a good neighbor. We'll make sure that everything gets tied in correctly. You know, so I don't see any issues as long as Don and I are on the same page. I think it'll be fine.
I mean, it's something we'll vet when we get that 8-inch existing pipe on paper. We'll know what the connection length, it's going to be more than 10 feet, Jeff. I think it's going to be more like 50 plus. So, I mean, we'll have to figure out what's the best internet connection so we don't have to do a whole lot of work, you know, secondarily when the overall Birchwood system is put in. But like I said, we really won't know that, you know, definitively until we figure out where that 8-inch or existing pipe is.
Don or Jeff, do you anticipate this being a pipe connection, or would this simply be a gravity overland flow to the Birchwood through the Birchwood?
I mean, it can be both. I think Jeff prefers that it be hard connected in and not overland, but I mean, based on the invert elevation of the pond that we're showing now and the rim elevations of what Birchwood's system is, we will be above their rims. So you could flow it over land, but I think Jeff's thought was he would rather have it be hard connected and not have an outfall pointing at a house. I mean, it'd be a ways away from the house, but still an outfall.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
So, Mr. Austin, go ahead.
Tim made an interesting comment and inquiry about responsibility. So are we leaving the decision about who's going to do what to the Old Top development team and Mr. Ravens?
Yes,
Or
I think so.
That's
so
why.
how do we enforce it then, John?
We make sure that
This is the applicant. How do we
Yeah.
make sure
well,
if it's on the Old Top property?
through this easement agreement, it will be spelled out prior to him doing any asphalt.
So with that said,
Uh-huh.
perhaps a contingent approval or not approval tonight, nothing can be done there for several months.
Right, it gives him
Perhaps
5-6 months.
He can get,
come into the town.
if he gets something he likes here tonight,
Uh-huh.
he can get going on what he's got to do.
Right.
And then we can bring this back when Don and Olthoff and Mr. Ravens have done all their homework. Is
But
that-
why beat a dead horse if we have a qualified staff that checks off that it's met the contingencies required?
Except it's between Olthoff and Mr. Ravens. And as Dave said, who's
He comes in, he shows the agreement.
Yeah.
Legal says, yep, it's in order, we're good. If not, they don't get permission to start doing this one.
the agreement needs to include an end date.
Yeah, before asphalt. I mean, if we wanted to say end of April or May, I mean, it just depends on the asphalt. You know, you never know what kind of winter we'll have.
Yeah.
And the asphalt's planned. I would say mid-April is the earliest they open, and then there's gonna be some people. I mean, it could be, you know, July 1. I mean, if we wanted to do something like that, that gives adequate time. We could just check the box and our professional team here in this department can handle it.
Tim, is this something that you would end up chasing?
Yeah, and again, I mean, between Don and Jeff, and I mean, we handle these type of events on a regular basis with these pipes that are abutting, you know, I mean, I know this is kind of a new pipe going into an area that's kind of going to be happening shortly, but this is a very common, I mean, we run into this, that's why we do the drain tile surveys that Don asked for, and in the fields, we run into issues some pump people, some pumps, we run into several things all the time that we make sure. I mean, that's why we're out there, that's why we have construction inspections, we all work together to get all these things tied into the.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't have any more issues on that side of 41.
I agree, and I think that with Jeff and, all of us being aware of the situation, we're gonna find that pipe here pretty quickly and find out what's exactly there now, and I'm sure Jeff's already seen it, so he already knows something is there, so. And I'm fairly certain that if that pond has been outletting for this many years, it's been worked, that pipe, it's draining somewhere, so chances are there's nobody found that pipe, but obviously it's probably draining out there at such a rate where nobody even really realizes it's there now. I feel that it's gonna be pretty, and it's been a perfect situation on the Birchwood subdivision too, where it's at, there's that outlot area and, there's gonna be storm sewer closed, so it's gonna be, it's not one of them cases where you're outletting something and the storm sewer is clear on the other side of the development. You got something right there to make it work. And to try to have a definite plan right now before the Birchwood is there is virtually pretty tough. As long as we all know we got to do it.
Well, Don,
Rory, I mean, I'm sure if in 3 years or 2 years, and Rory knows he dumped that pipe there, they're going to say you got to pay for 50 feet of pipe. He's not going to say, sorry. I mean, they're working together. Everybody seems to be.
well, then I guess this agreement has to be reviewed by legal.
Yeah,
Make sure there's some.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the interim one
there's
is going to be the one that you got to require now because that final agreement isn't going to be able to be completed until phase 3 or 4 of Birchwood is done.
Yeah, but I think the interim.
The agreement can be done, but the physical connection won't be done until
Yeah.
phase 3 or 4. And if the economy acts up, it can be a decade. Truth of the matter.
Right, so.
That's why the agreement in place is important.
But
Agreed.
that's why I said there needs to be a date. Because a complete date.
Why
know
they agreed to be in place, correct? That's what you're looking for, Jerry?
I'm
Yeah,
thinking, no, I mean, the job being done.
It's impossible to know when phase 3 or 4. When they sell, they build the next phases. Look at Centennial.
Right.
Took a
But
decade.
leaving, but relying on the economy. And
Well, right.
what.
But
would-
if the agreement's on paper
Yeah.
and it's approved between property owner A and property owner B, then it is what it is. If it takes a decade, it takes a decade.
Is
For the
there-
ultimate, I mean, we may use this 8-inch, pipe that's, being utilized now for, we don't think it'll be more than 2-3 years, but we saw what happened in 08. It could be 20 years. It could be 10 years. The reality of it. If it's,
So could this agreement also run with the land?
It would have to. It needs to be
Okay.
a reportable instrument. It would have to,
Okay.
include language about enforcement.
Right.
There's a lot, there would be, actually, this is grown into. quite
This was going to be complicated right from the get-go. So you were going to ask something earlier when I said about who's going to review. I said the agreement would have to go to legal then.
Who's currently that needs to be
Well,
considered also.
Yeah. Who would be preparing this agreement?
it's up to them.
Rory? Okay.
It's up to Rory. He's the property owner.
Rory and,
Between Rory and.
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
But it would need to be checked off then by you all.
By legal,
Well,
by
Yeah.
the town.
by
Yeah.
the town, and you're the jurisdictional body. Of course,
Okay.
you probably hand it to me to look at and talk to you about.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be part of my motion I would like to make
Right.
whenever we are able.
All right. Heather, any thoughts?
Not right now, no.
Okay. Michelle? Anything, Michelle? Okay, we'll come back. She's muted. Chuck Becker, you got it covered? Mr. Kapora?
Good.
You're good?
Good.
Sharp's good? Form's good? Kubiak's good?
Yeah, I think that this is gonna be pretty simple. I mean, now that, I'm glad to see that they found some type of outlet for that pond. That was my biggest concern that what's gonna happen. What Jeff, you're on board. I mean, everybody's, like I said, this is kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
We run into 6 of these things on every one of these about. Don and TJ have been out there making sure that these things are picked up by then, so we kind of eliminate all.
And that's what we needed, is some more homework on this.
We'll have that.
All right, so Mr. Foreman, your motion would include the
Yeah,
modification or replacement of the existing lights?
3 items. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
To approve Raven's site plan contingent on utilizing the 8-inch pipe as an interim outlet into the Altoff property, as well as a cross easement agreement for the storm water by the property owner, responsible by the property owner, checked off at a later date by the town. And the pointing of the lights either facing down and or different fixtures that meet our photometric plan.
Okay.
It's an option for
And that's-
him.
and that's-
If he
and-
fabs
and-
something up to
that's-
bracket it out and face it down.
And, okay. All right,
I'll second his motion.
okay. We have a motion by Mr. Foreman. We have a second by Mr. Carnahan. Roll call, please.
Heather Dessau,
Yes.
Chuck Becker,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Kapura,
Yes.
Jerry Wilson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks for staying with us.
Couple things, just so I'm clear. So as far as the site plan, Turinga and Don can kind of work to that to get to the specs that Don's looking for. And then we can start bidding it out at that point. And
I'm fairly certain though that your bidding in general can start tomorrow.
Okay, well, I gotta
And
make sure
that's-
the
and-
site plans are correct for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just gotta clean some stuff up, Rory. We'll work it out.
Okay,
Okay.
and then the lights, just get a hold of Tim to look at, or who? if
Yeah,
we do
Tim
something different?
knows exactly what he's looking at.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And then as far as the legal piece on the agreement, is there a chance I could get like bullet points of what you want in that agreement?
John gave them to you tonight
Okay,
in the conditions, and the rest of it is going to be fairly pro forma. We're going to look for enforcement, compliance, things of general.
Jeff Yatsko, maybe
what's that?
Jeff Yatsko, maybe your best
I would think
asset there.
He'd be the most interested.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Good luck to you.
Rory.
Thanks
Yeah.
for
Thank
keeping
you.
your business in Cedar Lake and
Yeah.
good luck with your expansion of your parking lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
everything. Bye.
Have a good Christmas.
Yeah, and I also agree with you down on that, because we had talked about the requirement of the Rensselaer part of it, Illinois, and we're glad it's staying.
Yeah, it's just the safe factor that I think is important.
Well, one of our major jobs here is to make sure the taxpayers are.
Yeah,
interests
safe,
are looked-
especially if
looked
you-
at- Are looked at.
Absolutely.
All their interests are.
100%.
Okay. New business, item number 1, Hanover Community School, Lot 1 subdivision rezone PUD amendment. Petitioners, let's see, Hanover Community School Corporation, 9520, 133rd Wicker Avenue, vicinities 10631 West 141st, Cedar Lake, Indiana, Hanover Middle School subdivision. Legal descriptions there. Petitioners requesting a rezone from agricultural zoning district to a community business B2 planned unit development zoning district and planned unit development amendment. Mr. Austin, is there anything here that doesn't seem right?
In what regard?
The request.
But no, the
Okay.
request is in proper sequence. I
Okay.
talked about that with staff.
All right, good.
In terms of sequence, there are 2 major actions to consider tonight, items. With regard to the public hearing notices, I'm going to suggest that any action taken tonight by the planning commission be contingent upon verification. You can see the file I'm looking at. That we handle an independent review.
All right. Thank you. Don Oliphant has quite a sheet of things here. And this is a big project, so it's going to need a lot of homework. Don Oliphant, do you have anything you want to hit on right now?
Like you said, it's a large, extensive project.
Turn the volume up, Don.
Sorry. It's a pretty extensive project, obviously. So, I mean, it was an extensive review with, a lot of comments, but it's also the first review. So, not terribly unexpected, but yeah, there were a lot of comments.
All right. I guess we're here for, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I want to make sure that we understand generalities here in terms of the zone map, the PUD, and what's occurring in the school corporation. When they brought the first school facility in, annexed that piece of the farm, brought it in, and built the middle school, the current middle school, they came in and sought and were granted the PUD zoning district classification. Well, they've added 20 acres to, or they've appended 20 acres that they've annexed town approval into this plan. And now they're unifying the existing with the proposed. And they're adding that 20 acres for the proposal to the existing. So it's kind of a marriage that's occurring here to amend the PUD for the amendment of a zoning district classification for the new use that's proposed, which has a site plan and which will have an accompanying amended one lot subdivision or replat actually to make an amended one lot subdivision out of the total or the entirety. Now that's subject to whatever your presentation is, but that's how I've understood the documents, the information I've been provided, and the legality. So your actions tonight, or whenever it's appropriate, will be inclusive of both of those items, working to amend the PUD, which has a site plan in it, development responsibilities and accoutrements, and the one lot subdivision, which is the most ministerial of all the things here in the boundary survey plat, and then imposing the site plan from the amended PUD into it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should have said that.
No, that's fine. I know we had old and new being mixed together here.
I have something small to add to that. Rick and I discussed this prior, and I've discussed it with our surveyors. Due to the significant addition of that new parcel, I don't know if a replat is in order. I think they would have to go through the preliminary and final plat procedures. I think it's just too large to replat something like that. At least that's the consensus that I'm getting.
Okay, hold on, Don.
I did not say it, but the response to Don is that the entirety is going to be dealt with. So it's a major change, if you will, to the PUD and the zoning district that was granted previously 8 years ago or thereabouts. And the replat requires public hearing, primary approval for what is being added to what already exists. So there'll be a primary and secondary, just as our ordinance requires and as the statute prescribes.
Okay.
So Don, I hope that helps clear up your comment.
It does. Thanks.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Tringa.
Good evening. I'm as confused as everyone else.
No, this actually probably may be the simplest thing we've heard this month.
Well, one of the items that is on Mr. Oliphant's letter is a preliminary plat because we submitted simply a final plat. We can prepare a preliminary plat in accordance with what Cedar Lake requires. My question would be are we talking about another public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what does that entail? Just the plat?
No, clarification, please. I don't know why we have to, this is a public hearing. For a
Exactly.
primary plot. You clarified that way, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay,
Well,
so
then
why,
we're there.
I'm sorry,
Then we're here.
then we're here, yeah. It's not another one advertised on. This is a public hearing for a primary plat as well as the amendment of the PUD rezone.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said, preliminarily, I had printed up a number of the colorized copies that Gibraltar had put together. And unfortunately, I switched cars before I came here and they were in my car. So we have a few that are circulating. Hopefully everyone can either share or
That's this.
that is that. As Mr. Austin said, there was 83 acres here, which was the original Hanover Middle School. On the drawing there, now, does everyone have a site plan? That's really all I'm going to go into.
Yes.
Yes, sir. That's the existing middle school. At the time that the existing middle school was put together, as we said, 8 to 10 years ago, whatever it was, there were 5 different retention/detention ponds constructed on this site. What we are proposing this evening is adding to the existing middle school with parking lots on the northeast, an additional, in addition to the parking lot on the northeast, addition to the parking lot on the northwest, a new roadway that would circle behind the existing middle school and go between the middle school and the elementary school. And then a addition to the building of a gymnasium, a cafeteria, and a music room. All 3 of those additions are shown on those Gibraltar colorized plans. In addition to that, a new elementary school that would be located south of the middle school is being proposed. We attended the December 10th Board of Zoning Appeals that asked for 2 variances. One variance being the reduction from 10 by 20 parking spaces to 9 by 20 parking spaces. And the other being the reduction from the required of roughly 450 parking spaces for the elementary school to 266. Both of those variances were granted. So the drawing that you see here and the drawings that have been resubmitted to the town reflect those 266 spaces and the 9 by 20 spaces. In addition to that, the main roadway, which currently dead ends at the middle school, will be extended all the way out to US Route 41. There will be modifications made to Route 41 in accordance with what NDOT requires, which would be acceleration, deceleration lanes for both the entrance on the going northbound and also acceleration, deceleration lanes to the southbound lanes where the existing crossover to get into the school meets the roadway that is being constructed through the property. There is a new administration building, a new mechanical building, a new maintenance building, and a new bus storage being proposed. Those areas are referred to as the resource center. On your drawing, they are shown in the southwest corner of the property, which is the 21 acres that was recently annexed. And it is the addition to the original 83 acres, making a total of 104 acres on this property. What we have attempted to do is we've attempted to meet the town of Cedar Lake's requirements for stormwater detention. The stormwater detention ponds were not constructed in accordance with what Cedar Lake required originally. Either that or they've changed, but anyway, we have made those modifications. Some of the items in Mr. Oliphant's letter regarding that are being addressed. Now, mind you, we have not been able to address these things because we only received the letter, but we will. There are quite a few questions and responses in regards to lighting. The lighting contractor is, I spoke with them today. They have no issues with any of that. They're going to put together everything necessary. In regards to what was talked about with the plan unit development. I put all the plan unit development documents together. I submitted those to the town roughly the first week of December. The modifications were necessary because of the reduction in the parking. All of those changes were made and those were submitted to the town yesterday. So we haven't heard anything back in regards to that, but the documents are there. With that being said, if there's any questions that anyone has, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
I do have a question. I'm just kind of glancing through Don's report. Don Oliphant, where the administration building is going to be, the lay of the land there seems to be suspect for stormwater south of the school property. Is that going to be able to be dealt with? I mean, you may not know now, but
Good. Right now, it's not. The offsite flow really wasn't incorporated from the McAlpine study into the Turanga storm sewer system. And right now, the admin building is kind of sitting in an existing low spot. So there's going to have to be some tweaking, I think, the land plan to make that work.
okay. All right. That is of no surprise to you.
No, not
Okay.
at all. That,
Right.
that entire area, in order to get the sanitary sewer to that area, we have to fill it considerably anyway, so.
Okay.
There were a number of field drain tiles that were found on that property and they've all been tied in, so.
All right. Mr. Kubiak, any questions, thoughts?
I guess my thoughts are just, where did you turn in the PUD documents and stuff to the town? Here or
Mhm.
to
To Jill and Tammy. I think. Yeah.
I just haven't, I didn't see them, but I didn't know.
Oh, no, they were all turned in. I put together a report in accordance with what was in your ordinance down the list.
I didn't, Rick or myself didn't see it. so
I saw the large drawing, set of drawings down. Are you saying you submitted something else in the way of text document?
Also, I submitted a thumb drive with everything on it.
Okay, we'll make sure that we review that. That was yesterday, you said?
No. It was originally submitted shortly after the meeting in which Mr. Austin said it was necessary. So that was beginning of December, I believe. I don't know the exact date.
December 2nd.
Yeah,
Work
December
session.
2nd.
Okay, it was shortly after. I was shortly after that. But it had to be modified. If you remember, I don't know if you were aware of this, but one of the comments that Mr. Austin made, probably just to me, was that with the change to 266 parking spaces, the PUD documents needed to be amended. So what you probably saw were the amendments to the overall paperwork, these plans. The documents themselves don't change because it doesn't really say anything about parking. Okay, so
I just asked Michelle, she got the PUD documents today and she said, no.
What did, I thought you said you delivered something today. What,
yesterday,
Yesterday.
what was that?
You had them?
They're here.
I didn't deliver.
Problem
those
solved.
yesterday. Those were delivered weeks ago.
Case closed.
December, this is dated December 8th.
Okay,
That would make sense with the December 2nd work session.
that is correct.
Don, can you put those documents on that Dropbox link too, just so they get to us and everybody else?
Yes, I could.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Kubiak, any other questions?
No, as long as, I mean, I obviously, I knew, we kind of talked about that after the fact at the last meeting, that this was a pretty large deal, that it jammed through another month. I think that since we made these PUD documents and these plans, they got their first review for the site that, I mean, I think we're on track for, I mean, obviously, we need to work through some of those comments, and I think that you guys should be ready for the next meeting. For next month. And there's a lot to get through. And this is one of
So-
those things that
so-
can't be done in 30 days.
Yeah. So if there was a motion tonight, it would have to include a
Well,
contingent on the PUD document approval.
No, that would be part of your approval or your actually the recommendation to the town council.
Okay.
For adoption of the amended PUD ordinance, zoning district ordinance.
Okay.
And it would be included within that development plan is within that ordinance.
But this is Don's-
we have two things though tonight, right? The first is the zone change, right? What we're
Agricultural,
voting on.
agricultural.
And then the second would be the petitioners requesting a preliminary plat, and the preliminary plat information approval is really dependent on all these contingencies that Don has in his letter under general preliminary, preliminary plat, plan set, existing topography, site plan. And there's, 6 to 10, 12 bullets per. So sanitary, storm, et cetera. So Donald, do you feel as though moving forward with such an extensive list is irresponsible and it should be deferred for the petitioner requesting the preliminary plat? Or if a contingency were made based on your letters over the next month or two, would you be okay with that? And the same would go for legal? That would be my question.
It's an awful lot of comments to give a contingent approval. Don, has Neil responded back with any water main comments yet even?
Neil has not.
And that's another kind of outlier. I mean, there's a significant extension to the water main on the parcel, which will be public. And I think he needs to get eyes on it and say something if he's okay with it or not.
And he's on vacation the rest of the year, so.
From
Yeah.
this perspective, this is the most sophisticated agreement the town will ever see
Got it.
and needs
Got it.
full like review.
That's all I had, Mr. President. Okay.
Mr. Carnahan, any comments?
To me, I think we could go ahead and do the first, but maybe not include the PUD in there.
Bob, the PUD is what it is.
Changing it to
That's
that.
what it is. That's the guts of this whole thing.
It's
Maybe at
all,
the next work session with their updates, and then, I mean.
So- Mr. Kubiak's thinking a deferral is in order. Mr. Foreman, you,
Even on the PUD?
Oh,
You're thinking, oh,
Yeah.
I don't think we have any.
Mr. President,
yes, sir.
this is a public hearing
Yes, sir.
on each of the items. So continued public hearing is probably what is most appropriate, not a deferral.
Okay.
But a continuance of the public hearing.
Public hearing.
And we need a motion for that.
You will have, yeah, you will. Actually, you'll need 2 motions.
On both of them? Okay.
Michelle, anything? You there? Okay. Heather, any questions?
No, not right now.
Okay. Chuck, any questions?
no.
John Kapora?
No.
Mr. Sharp? Mr. Foreman? No, I have any questions. Okay. Then I guess,
Jerry,
yeah, Michelle.
Jerry, can you please ask for remonstrators?
Oh, yeah.
And
Sorry.
that-
All right. Yeah, I'd have forgotten though. Okay, have a seat real quick. Are there any remonstrance for or against this petitioner's request? Anyone
No,
come to the podium?
Mr. President, could you break those out, please,
Okay,
so that our record is made that
Right.
each of these items are handled as they've been
Okay.
advertised.
My
And
name's
you're-
Jerry
you're-
Boston, and I
okay.
live at 107-401.
hold on. You're, what?
Yeah, here, yeah.
Okay. We're gonna break this up into 2 things. One is going to be the agricultural rezone,
I got just one question, that's all I got.
okay?
I want to know what the
Name and
rezoning.
address.
Yeah.
He said his name already, but Michelle called it. Mr. Boston, could you start again, please? In the
My name
microphone.
is Gary Boston. I live at 10741 West 141st. I live in front of the school. And I understand that you're gonna rezone the school, but I just want to make sure it's not gonna affect me.
It's only,
Because
it's only
Right
gonna
there,
be,
I still farm that land.
only the school property that's agricultural is going to be rezoned. That's an
correct.
accurate statement. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Your agricultural property that you own will not be affected.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
all I
it's
want
the
to know.
empty field south of the existing school.
Right,
So that's the existing school,
right.
Mr. Boston, and then just south of it is this empty field, so that's what
Yeah,
is.
so that was,
Changed.
he explained that when he said it was 41 over there.
Mhm.
I know where he's talking.
Yes,
Okay, that's
No.
all I want to
so
know.
it will not affect your property whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Have a good night. Thank you. Okay, one more time. Enter demonstrators for or against petitioner's request for a rezone from agricultural to community business B2. I don't see any. Anybody zooming in? Jill?
No.
Okay. Are there any remonstrators for or against the amendment to the existing PUD development? No one in here? Anybody zooming?
Mr. Chairman,
Just Jim
Yes, sir.
Thompson.
again, I'm sensing a lot of confusion in the room tonight. The
Did I
zone
not,
change,
did I not break it up into two pieces?
well, you asked about the first line here, the rezone from agricultural. This is a zone change from its current zoning of ag and it's partially R or B2 to a single PUD zoning district classification, one classification. And this is the guts of this land use proposal. The subdivision follows and there'll be a one lot subdivision, there'll be a survey essentially. And within the four corners or more of that acreage will be the development plan that Engineer Turenga is presenting and that the school is proposing. It's the most important part of this.
Well, then I
All
guess,
the details are in it, everything Don Oliphant has commented on, everything Tim Kubiak's commented on, everything that has been asked about and inquired about, and the presentation. This is the submission, this is your consideration.
so,
I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding about it. And let me give you an example so you can have a comparison as to why I say that. Hopeful there will be no confusion. The Lennar project is a PUD. It's a PUD because of a bunch of different things happening inside that 100 acres. Different housing stock, different densities, different roads, things that your subdivision ordinance wouldn't necessarily permit. But it was an accommodation, it is an accommodation contract form of zoning. And with that, and inside the four corners of that survey of that one, it's a one lot subdivision there too. Is going to be 353 homes and all of the amenities, et cetera. That's what the school is proposing. That's how this parcel works for the development. You're going to have what, 4 main buildings, 5 main buildings. That doesn't work in your normal subdivision, but it works in a PUD when everything else comes together. Drainage and traffic and parking spaces and all of the things that go with that. So if I'm being a bit persnickety tonight, it's because it's an $80 million project and it has all of that in it. And our understanding of the process is the beginning of our ability to dive into it and embrace it and assess it for decision-making purposes.
so me asking for remonstrators and breaking that up into two pieces was not the right thing to
Now,
do.
the first piece is from its current zoning to PUD.
Okay.
And that was correct.
Yeah.
The second piece will become, when you complete the first piece, will be the primary plat.
Okay. All right, we have no demonstrators in here or on the computer. So regarding the rezone agricultural the community business request. Would anyone like to make a motion on that item?
I'd like to make a motion for a continuance of a public hearing for the Hanover Community Schools one lot subdivision rezone PUD amendment request.
All right, we have a
That may
motion.
be the problem. The title's wrong.
That may be, perhaps, let me strike that motion. I would like to rephrase. I think this document here is the proper. I believe I read it.
Rezone PUD amendment.
Hanover Community School Corporation annexed, okay, this is it. Okay, I got it. I'd like to make a motion for continuance of the public hearing for the property to be rezoned from agricultural to plan unit development, PUD. That would also include the existing Hanover Central Junior High property.
All right, we have a motion by John for a continuance,
Second.
second by Mr. Sharp. Roll call, please.
Heather Dessauer,
Yes.
Chuck Becker,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Kapora,
Yes.
Gary Wilkins.
Yes. Okay, before we get to the request B, Mr. Tringa, did you throw your hand up? Did you have a question about something?
No.
Okay. Oh, come on up. State your name and address and we'll get your question.
Dion Koutsouras, representative, construction manager with the Skillman Corporation, representing Hanover Schools. More of a question than anything, just so that I can have an better understanding. Can this process run parallel? Let's just assume Don's team responds to Mr. Oliphant's, all the requests on the response that he provided today. So let's say he responds within, what's a reasonable amount of time?
I would, yeah, I would rate,
It is.
So, so let's just assume he responds to all the requirements. What are the next step? Not the next steps in the process, but I just would like to have a better understanding of the timeline for approval, and can that run parallel? Here's the bottom line.
Try to keep it on track.
We're trying to keep it on track. We're going to go to the school board January, mid-January, to request hitting the street advertising for bids, and then we'll actually secure bids around either probably February 9th. Award contracts end of February, and then get started early March. Now, understanding that I have to work with Mr. Kubiak's department, securing building permits. Now, as soon as the documents hit the street, the architect will send them downstate, and then Tim, I assume, just working with many other municipalities, you guys won't release it until you have a state design, correct? Building permit. So I'm just trying to.
Working on that, we got to work on the permit.
Okay.
So we get the plan, so we-
So things like that, the plans will be available again.
The sooner we get them, the better it'll be for you, because if we have to look, you know what I mean?
So that's kind of my question. We can continue that process parallel with the approvals that need to take place here then?
Well, in 2 weeks, there'll be a work session.
Okay.
And updates on that, updates on all this, then would be fantastic.
Okay.
It'd actually be 3 weeks from today,
3 weeks.
the 6th of January.
Okay.
And then the 20th would be the first and third would be the next
This meeting will take
public
place on January
hearing
20th.
meeting. So it's essentially 1 month, right?
I guess just taking into consideration Mr. Austin's comment about the size and complexity of this, I just want to make sure we're doing everything we need to do to stay on track as well. Working with Don's team in the past, I know he'll do everything to respond to Mr. Oliphant's requests.
Yeah, I think Don, the other Don's team is maybe not as big as Mr. Turinga's team. So it makes for 7 days a week.
We're plenty big, but holidays are upon us as well. So I think everybody should consider that as well.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Don.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
What was mentioned about the dates in January are not published, and I called the town and asked when the study session and when.
It's always the first and third Wednesday.
That's fine, but I was
But
told,
we just approved it last night.
I was told that it wasn't published.
It was not until last night.
Okay,
It has been as of last night.
and is that going to be on the website then? Because that meeting date's been going on for 30 years.
Yeah, it's the same meeting dates that we've had forever.
I understand.
But it
that,
wasn't
however-
official to tell
however,
you.
the Staff said that
That's
it
right.
wasn't official. so.
Isn't, yeah.
It wasn't until
Yes.
last night.
And that would be true. Okay,
That was it.
okay.
Okay.
Then I guess I need to solicit a continuance motion on the, sorry, go ahead.
This is a public hearing also on this particular item on your agenda. The review of the public notices should be made and verified just as the PUD amendment was recommended. Any action should be contingent minimally on that verification.
So run
So
through all the steps again for this subject, that's all.
You need to open the public hearing on this item.
Okay. Hanover Community School Corporation, item B. Petitioner's request from preliminary plat for a one-lot subdivision. Petitioner is proposing a new upper elementary school in additions to the Hanover Middle School. Petitioner is here?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the preliminary plat or the one-lot subdivision? Okay. Any remonstrators for or against such a thing? Zooming? Anyone? No, nobody there? Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions on the commission? Building department, anybody? No questions? All right, then I guess this will follow the same, assuming this will follow the same path as item A. Is there a motion to be made regarding a continuance?
I again would like to make a motion for continuance for the preliminary plat for the one lot subdivision.
We have a motion by Mr. Foreman. Do we have a second? Second by Chuck Becker. Roll call, please.
Heather Dethauer,
Yes.
Chuck Becker,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Cora,
Yes.
Jerry Wilkie.
Yes. Motion carries. All right, I think that concludes things for this evening, other than update items. Park impact fee amendment. Yes, sir.
This item needs to be subject of a special public meeting of this plan commission, January 6th, so that we can timely process a recommendation by you to the town council following the advisory fee committee recommendation, so that there is no gap in the imputation on and collection of park and recreation impact fees. We have a 5-year.
Hey, you guys have a good
window.
Christmas.
Then,
It's a 5-year window that's closing, and we are really tight
All right.
time period. to
Okay.
do that without gap.
does anyone have what the new formula is going to be? Because we discuss this all the time.
We don't have that yet.
Does anyone know who may be recommending the new formula?
Town has a consultant, Tagier Shah.
The Arch Group.
The impact fee committee is meeting Tuesday evening, December 22nd at 5:30 PM.
We expect a recommendation out of that.
Okay, to stay in the timeline that Mr. Austin just
And
referred to.
presently, it's like 1,200, is it?
12:15.
12:15 today.
Jerry, I think you're getting confused with the formula.
Yeah,
and
I'm going, yeah, I
it's fairly different.
thought the same time I thought it.
Just as
Okay, the park impact fee amendment. All right.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes,
This
sir.
would be,
Ma'am.
this would be the request for the third renewal of that fee.
On the 6th.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. I guess what I originally wanted to bring up is the fee in lieu of for parks. The fee in lieu of that's been mentioned here many times. We have two formulas. And we try to meet in the middle on those. Does this same group, can they help us with one formula that everybody can live with?
No,
No. Okay.
this is a very specific.
I mean, that's a subdivision ordinance arrangement, but. Okay. All right. Mr. Everly. The fee in lieu of, when it comes to parks and neighborhoods and things like that, is there a formula that you've used in the past?
There is, and we have a formula in our ordinance, but frankly, I've been wanting to get a chance to talk to David about that because for a number of years now, I've been under the impression that the law no longer allows. Dave, you might remember that many years ago, the Root family sued the town of Dyer over this very issue.
Castlewood subdivision.
Castlewood
Oh, well.
Exactly. And it wound up getting taken out of, as far as I know it, the law changed statewide where you could not require cash in lieu of. And at the time, we didn't even require it in Dyer. We just made it an option, at the option of the developer. Not something the town could mandate. The developer could offer cash in lieu of parking. And at that time, we used $1,000 an acre for that basis. But the developer sued the town of Dyer because he neither wanted to give land, nor did he want to pay the fee in lieu. They wound up taking it out of their ordinance. Town of St. John didn't have it in their ordinance for the same reason, because I thought it was not allowed by state law, and it was my intention as we revised these two ordinances, subject to talking to David about it, that we remove that language from our ordinance so that we don't have a problem. David,
Yeah, no, there's a change that has occurred. This we're talking about a case 20 plus years ago that occurred in Castlewood subdivision. So many laws have changed in that 20-year period of time that overlap or interweave. For example, and this just happened. This happened to my Winfield town client, where a developer platted a subdivision, and among the conditions of approval of the plat were the dedication of a 9-acre park within that community. And it was by volunteer donation, conveyance within the body of the plat. And they began to develop their property. About 6 or 8 years into developing that property, a rather large and multi-phase project, the town adopted park impact fees. Well, section 3674-1335 in the impact fee statute, or yes, in the impact fees, permits waiver or appeal. And you can appeal on the basis of having contributed against whatever the imposition is. Well, that developer prevailed. Town wrote a check back in lieu of the 9-acre park parcel. That ordinance had to change. So there are changes that have occurred, and I got your note, Rick. We didn't get to it the other day. That we need to look at this. So it's kind of timely, Jerry, that you asked the question. I know I didn't give a very straight answer to that, but that's because it's pretty convoluted. There's tax, there's imposition, there's a park and rec impact fee, or there's actually an impact fee statute. 5 things can be the subject of that. And I've been asked by the town council, President Randy, to look at a road impact fee, which is permitted. Again, another thing we didn't get to, Rick. We will, but so there are a number of things to be looking at in relationship to those amenities and or imposition charges rates.
And this park impact fee fund, that is able to be used to purchase land for a new park. So in the event a bunch of subdivisions we were to waive, we can contribute that park impact fee money and also the in lieu of having a park into an account and then eventually buy property. Is that correct?
It's true. It's also used
Or improve existing parks.
It is. And by the way, in response to your inquiry about the grounds here, I've opined already that those funds are absolutely suitable for that. It's
Okay.
Forward-looking, protective of the property. The uses have expanded since the,
You mean for my request to put a
yeah,
nice fence out front?
right.
Yes.
Parking lot and everything.
Yeah, and that's right. That came out of John's request for a review of that and an assessment of it. And the funds that include that parcel out here are park impact funds.
Well, I think it's important for all of us to understand that good cities and towns have good parks. And there's a lot of truth to that. You take a city like Valparaiso, they've got some fantastic parks, facilities, municipal golf course, what have you. I think we as a board, we as a town, right now with all the change happening, marching south on 41, that's something we should probably think about, consider. And I realize that we do own some land south on Parish that we're looking to try to leverage as much as we can for the eco restoration project, et cetera. But that would be an example of someday, maybe if some of the things we are thinking about don't pan out, that would be a very nice centrally located piece of land that could be a heck of a park, like this piece of property, and or perhaps other areas in the vicinity that were to come on the market.
Well, there's certainly a need to take progressive steps down the path, and this step that Rick and Jill and team are working through, the impact fee is, and its continuation is very, very important. We're going to issue, Bob, how many permits did we issue this year?
242.
42. Probably issue that many next year. And if the fee is allowed to lapse through either delay or inaction or just allowed to lapse, 242 times $1,215 is gone.
Right.
And, you know, it's new development paying for it. New homes paying for it. It's not on the backs of citizens that are here and have already done that. So seems to make a lot of sense. But that's a policy call. But at the end of the day, it'll come through the planning commission to the council. There'll be an ordinance. What date, Jill? 19th of January. There'll be an ordinance on the town council agenda for consideration.
Well, I can see the way these are intermingled. One of the commissioners had mentioned this to me quite recently, not the park impact fee amendment, but the fee in lieu of. And because we have two formulas and we struggle with it in great detail with these developments, we try to meet in the middle. I think the last time there was a huge discussion, I think shooting from the hip, we get a fee in lieu of $50,000 and the retail value of what we gave away or traded it
Beacon
for
Point. Is what you're talking about, Beacon Point?
Was probably way in excess of $1 million as far as acreage goes. And since we have two formulas, one works out to be, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars an acre for parks, and the other one works out the other extreme. I was hoping that we can get a formula that works, and on the back of the park impact fee, maybe that's time to do it. I don't know.
Is that
So-
park impact fee in with the system development?
That's
No,
separate, Bob.
they're
It's
different.
statutory.
They're different fees.
Okay.
And they're both collectible under ordinance.
And also, commissioners, last night we voted to update our master plan. It's important you know that. So we have a company that's going to take our prior revisions that I think we did in 2017 and rewrite and or update the entire book. So I think the parks, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that in terms of what kind of parkland we should have. There's a section in there now, but it's quite old. The original was the 2007 master plan. And the community's changed, so.
Well, with that said, perhaps the 41 corridor, it'll have 3 lanes and
23.
before we know it,
23, yeah.
more stoplights. Perhaps a master plan should include some kind of facade requirements. Couple different options instead of putting
I think I just read something.
painting over things that already exist.
Rick, did you just distribute something from AIM that discussed facade, the legality of it? Of how you can.
They expect legislation to be introduced in this coming session to eliminate the ability of communities to require given materials in any type of zoning district area. So now they expect it to be introduced, doesn't mean it's going to pass, doesn't mean it's going to get introduced, but the AIM group said, be on the watch for this. The Home Builders Association is pushing legislation, lobbying for legislation to eliminate our ability to do that. Most communities do it to some extent commercially, not residentially yet, but even before I left town of St. John, they were considering an ordinance over there to regulate the materials that could be used on homes.
Well, Crown Point's real strict on Broadway corridor.
On Broadway corridor.
I mean, they built extensively.
Well, I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the 41 corridor.
Right.
On the commercial
Right.
side of things.
And you can do that, or at least communities do it now. David and I know from St. John, or St. John's got an ordinance to deal with that on the 41 corridor and the 231 corridor. Dyer has it on the Cadmus Avenue corridor and Sheffield corridor. And David has the title for that, for the Dyer one.
Well, perhaps we should be
thinking about it.
We should be on board with something.
But we're gonna have to watch this legislation. If this legislation comes, gets introduced and is successful, we won't have that ability to mandate material.
Even commercial.
Even commercials, I think they're gonna be pushing for the elimination of community ability to do that.
But we could have it in our subdivision control ordinance, our standards.
Well,
Is
it won't be enforceable.
Is it, so the state's gonna mandate the type of.
They could, yeah.
Gotcha.
When is that being decided on?
They're writing bills right now.
This session
And-
ends April.
Yeah, it's the long
29th.
session.
Yeah, it's a long session. I know communities around here are sending people to Indianapolis to help write some bills as soon as next Monday. They're helping the state legislators. It's in process. All this stuff that Rick has reported to you is in process.
I don't see it passing, quite honestly. You wouldn't have communities like Carmel and Fishers and Noblesville and Zionsville and Munster and,
They don't have all the votes. A lot of votes are from southern Indiana.
Yeah.
They vote the same.
That's
It's
true.
not based on population.
Yeah, we have farmers running our state.
Yep.
We'll watch that.
Yeah, thanks for that synopsis.
Yeah.
The things happening, by the way, Rick, that was helpful.
Okay. Mr. Becker, yes, sir.
Talked about voluntary annexation and RDC school officials getting the vote and.
Yes, Mr. Becker.
Well, we're supposed to discuss about a fee, about the sidewalks. For the people that, I thought we were supposed to try to do it before the end of the year, so. I thought all that was gonna be discussed in January when we're talking about the new changes to the ordinance, revised ordinances, and that was all supposed to happen in January.
Well, then.
Don has a draft of that. Right.
Okay.
The sidewalk in lieu of program, there is a draft of that ready to start discussing.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about? Any Zoomers? Michelle, anything?
I couldn't hear what was said by Mr. Austin, I think, about the fee in lieu of for the sidewalks.
One more time, Dave. Don has a draft of some kind that we'll be getting pretty soon.
Right, it isn't ready tonight.
It's not ready tonight, Heather.
But it's nearly so.
It's pretty close, and we'll be talking about it in January. Yes, Mr. Everly confirms January, Heather. Are you good? Heather Dessauer.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Michelle, anything?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else in here have anything you want to discuss, comment on?
Merry Christmas.
Amen. Merry Christmas. All right, meeting adjourned.